Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A protective covering that is part of a plant. Protective covering consisting of a metal part that covers the engine. There are powerful engines under the hoods of new cars. An aggressive and violent young criminal. Metal covering leading to a vent that exhausts smoke or fumes. A tubular attachment used to keep stray light out of the lens of a camera. A headdress that protects the head and face. Cover with a hood. The bandits were hooded. Falconry. A leather covering for a hawk's head. Slang. A neighborhood. The folding roof of a carriage. Zoology. An expandable part or marking that resembles a hood on the head or neck of an animal. A protective covering that is part of a plant. Lie at the top of. Snow capped the mountains. The upper part of a column that supports the entablature. A fruiting structure resembling an umbrella or a cone that forms the top of a stalked fleshy fungus such as a mushroom. A mechanical or electrical explosive device or a small amount of explosive can be used to initiate the reaction of a disrupting explosive. An upper limit on what is allowed. They established a cap for prices. Dentistry. Dental appliance consisting of an artificial crown for a broken or decayed tooth. A tight-fitting headdress. A top, as for a bottle. Restrict the number or amount of. We had to cap the number of people we can accept into our club. Something serving as a cover or protection. Protective covering consisting of a metal part that covers the engine. A hat tied under the chin. Dress in a bonnet. Protective covering consisting of a metal part that covers the engine. The mechanic removed the cowling in order to repair the plane's engine. A loose hood or hooded robe, as worn by a monk. Cover with or as with a cowl. Cowl the boys and veil the girls. Protective covering consisting of a metal part that covers the engine. The mechanic removed the cowling in order to repair the plane's engine. An awkward, stupid person. An aggressive and violent young criminal. An aggressive and violent young criminal. Rock music with deliberately offensive lyrics expressing anger and social alienation, in part a reaction against progressive rock. A teenager or young adult who is a performer, or enthusiast, of punk rock and a member of the punk youth subculture. Material for starting a fire. An aggressive and violent young criminal. Of very poor quality, flimsy. Substance that smolders when ignited, used to light fuses, especially fireworks. An aggressive and violent young criminal. An aggressive and violent young criminal. Making great mental demands, hard to comprehend or solve or believe. Very difficult, severely testing stamina or resolution. The competition was tough. Someone who learned to fight in the streets rather than being formally trained in the sport of boxing. Unfortunate or hard to bear. A tough break. Violent and lawless. Tough street gangs. Physically toughened. The tough bottoms of his feet. An aggressive and violent young criminal. A cruel and brutal fellow. Substantially made or constructed. A tough all-weather fabric. Feeling physical discomfort or pain, tough, is occasionally used colloquially for bad. He was feeling tough after a restless night. Not given to gentleness or sentimentality. A tough character. Resistant to cutting or chewing. An aggressive and violent young criminal. A particularly difficult or baffling question or problem. Metal covering leading to a vent that exhausts smoke or fumes. A tubular attachment used to keep stray light out of the lens of a camera. The act of concealing the existence of something by obstructing the view of it. The work of applying something. A natural object that covers or envelops. Under a covering of dust. An artifact that covers something else, usually to protect or shelter or conceal it. The act of protecting something by covering it. A recording of a song that was first recorded or made popular by somebody else. They made a cover of a Beatles song. Form a cover over. The grass covered the grave. Clothe, as if for protection from the elements. Cover your head. A fixed charge by a restaurant or nightclub over and above the charge for food and drink. The act of concealing the existence of something by obstructing the view of it. The cover concealed their guns from enemy aircraft. Travel across or pass over. The caravan covered almost 100 miles each day. Span an interval of distance, space or time. The period covered the turn of the century. A covering that serves to conceal or shelter something. Under cover of darkness. Include in scope. Include as part of something broader. Have as one sphere or territory. This should cover everyone in the group. Fire that makes it difficult for the enemy to fire on your own individuals or formations. Artillery provided covering fire for the withdrawal. Put something on top of something else. Cover the meat with a lot of gravy. A natural object that covers or envelops. Under a covering of dust. The protective covering on the front, back, and spine of a book. Make up for shortcomings or a feeling of inferiority by exaggerating good qualities. Bedding that keeps a person warm in bed. He pulled the covers over his head and went to sleep. Hide from view or knowledge. The president covered the fact that he bugged the offices in the White House. Be responsible for reporting the details of, as in journalism. The cub reporter covered New York City. Covering for a hole, especially a hole in the top of a container. Put the cover back on the kettle. Act on verbally or in some form of artistic expression. The course covered all of Western civilization. Sit on, eggs. The female covers the eggs. Protect by insurance. The insurance won't cover this. Cover as if with a shroud. Copulate with a female, used especially of horses. The horse covers the mare. A false identity and background, especially one created for an undercover agent. Her new name and passport or cover for her next assignment. Be responsible for guarding an opponent in a game. Be sufficient to meet, defray, or offset the charge or cost of. Is this enough to cover the check? Help out by taking someone's place and temporarily assuming his responsibilities. She is covering for our secretary who is ill this week. Hold within range of an aimed firearm. Invest with a large or excessive amount of something. She covered herself with glory. Maintain a check on, especially by patrolling. The second officer covered the top floor. Play a higher card than the one previously played. Smith covered again. Protect or defend, a position in a game. He covered left field. Provide for. The grant doesn't cover my salary. Provide with a covering or cause to be covered. Cover her face with a handkerchief. Spread over a surface to conceal or protect. This paint covers well. To take an action to protect against future problems. Count the cash in the drawer twice just to cover yourself. A natural object that covers or envelops. Payment extorted by gangsters on threat of violence. Every store in the neighborhood had to pay him protection. A covering that is intended to protect from damage or injury. They had no protection from the fallout. Defense against financial failure, financial independence. Insurance provided protection against loss of wages due to illness. The imposition of duties or quotas on imports in order to protect domestic industry against foreign competition. He made trade protection a plank in the party platform. Kindly endorsement and guidance. The condition of being protected. They were huddled together for protection. The activity of protecting someone or something. The witnesses demanded police protection. A covering that is intended to protect from damage or injury. The tough natural covering of some organisms. A covering that is intended to protect from damage or injury. A circular segment of a curve. A crook in the path. Someone who has committed a crime or has been legally convicted of a crime. Bend or cause to bend. He crooked his index finger. A long staff with one end being hook-shaped. Contrary to or forbidden by law. An outlaw strike. Disobedient to or defiant of law. Declare illegal, outlaw. Someone who has committed a crime or has been legally convicted of a crime. Someone who has committed a crime or has been legally convicted of a crime. A purulent infection at the end of a finger or toe in the area surrounding the nail. Someone who has committed a crime or has been legally convicted of a crime. Someone who has committed a crime or has been legally convicted of a crime. Involving or being or having the nature of a crime. A criminal offense. Bringing or deserving severe rebuke or censure. A criminal waste of talent. Guilty of crime or serious offense. Criminal in the sight of God and man. The act of attaching or affixing something. The act of fastening things together. A feeling of affection for a person or an institution. A connection that fastens things together. Faithful support for a cause or political party or religion. Attachment to a formal agenda. A supplementary part or accessory. A writ authorizing the seizure of property that may be needed for the payment of a judgment in a judicial proceeding. Clothing for the head. Clothing for the head. Stable gear consisting of any part of a harness that fits about the horse's head. The hoist at the pithead of a mine. A surrounding or nearby region. He always blames someone else in the immediate neighborhood. People living near one another. It is a friendly neighborhood. The approximate amount of something, usually used prepositionally as in the region of. The price is in the neighborhood of $100. An area within a city or town that has some distinctive features, especially one forming a community. An ethnic neighborhood. A surrounding or nearby region. People living near one another. An upper limit on what is allowed. There was a roof on salaries. A protective covering that covers or forms the top of a building. Protective covering on top of a motor vehicle. Provide a building with a roof. Cover a building with a roof. The inner top surface of a covered area or hollow space. The roof of the cave was very high.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.